We're back.
We're back.
Once again, episode 34, our Charles Barkley episode. The Eric and Tony show.
Yeah.
One and only Eric, the one and only Tony. Combined, we are the Eric and Tony show.
Eric and Tony show. I know everyone's probably like, hey, Tony, what happened to the refrigerator situation from last week? Oh, the burning question everyone is asking. So, if it wasn't already like a shit show with the Van Nuys appliance company.
What the fuck?
Dude, I ordered my refrigerator from Lowe's. Shout out to Lowe's. Go Blue.
Shout out to Lowe's.
And
not a sponsor yet.
But I'm leaving some good reviews for them. So I did the thing where I because the whole refrigerator scenario from last week was like hinged on the fact that like it was the last day of the month to get this deal on a refrigerator. I order it, but I was like on the fence. I start ordering it, but I changed the address in it for my account because it was like my ex's address, right?
Yeah.
Order the refrigerator. It's coming like the next day. And then they I get an email in the morning at like 6 and I had to work at like 7:30. And it was like, your refrigerator's on the way to X address. I'm like, no, that's the wrong address. I'm like, so I was just trying to figure out how I can get a hold of whoever's driving the damn truck to have them not go there or go to my actual address. Because I had my neighbor waiting to receive the refrigerator and stuff. And you'd think it'd be like someone would just be able to contact the driver. No, not at all. It was just like this fucking I call Lowe's, they put me on their second party, delivery service. And they're like, no, you got to talk to the distributor. So they send me back to Lowe's, who then sends me back to the other thing. It was just this thing for an hour. I'm like, all right, I don't know what I need to do, but someone just needs to know that I'm not going to take the refrigerator. So just don't stop there. So I finally, after about an hour of this going around circles, got a hold of somebody. And she's like, yeah, we'll just send you an email and you can reschedule the next delivery. I'm like, perfect, fine. This is all I wanted. I just want to not have you drop it off at my ex's address. And because I paid for them the whole way, the shit box I got from Van Nuys Appliances. And because if we would have dropped it off, I would have just borrowed Mark's truck and then moved the damn refrigerator myself and stuff. But I also paid for them to deliver it. So I kind of want to have them do the thing.
You know what I found in situations like that where I know this may be frowned upon, but you have to pull a Karen. You have to go, okay, I need to speak to a manager. I need to speak to whoever's your boss or your boss's boss. I need to speak to them right now. And right then and there, as soon as you say that, then they're like, and then everything gets handled. Because I did that. I was on the phone with fucking my credit card company for an hour and they did the same shit. They're like, oh, hello. It's some outsourced thing in Indonesia where I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, hi, hey, I need this credit card. I have a question about it, whatever. And they're like, oh, you have to call this number. I'm like, okay. So they transfer me to this number. Then I talk to them. They're like, oh yeah, you need to and then I go back to the same person. I just talked to him like, hey, I was just talking to you.
I was just a guy.
Yeah, I was just talking.
And it's funny because every time I called,
circle and it was an hour.
It tells you that they're like how far you are in the queue. Every time I called, I was the next person in the queue. So, but I talked to 6 different people. I'm like, how many people are in this answering booth, right?
Yeah.
And how is I have not to the same person? But I finally get a hold of this one chick, and she just kind of shut it down. But it did that thing where I don't know if you've done this on websites before. You put in your information in, and then you leave and you come back, and it reloads. It just stops everything you saved. Because I updated my address on all that all my personal information and shit, and just went right back to the default stuff. And I was like, fuck, man, I
have to hit save.
Do you? Save. Yeah, I mean, you think I would have been like that, but either way, all that shit, sucks. So yesterday, I was off and I saw that I got refunded for the cost of the fridge. So I just drove to Lowe's. I'm like, I need this refrigerator at this address tomorrow. So they came. Amazing, Lowe's, future sponsor. Amazing, delivery team for yeah. What's the
good job?
Fuck a Home Depot. Lowe's is the shit though. And I'm just got everything. It was, dude, it's I took a nap with my kid today because I kept him out of school for delivery.
Have the weird squealing
noise.
You couldn't
sleep with the squealing pig fridge, man. And he just slept solid, dude. I was like, I actually could fall asleep. I was too wound up when the gym got swole.
You had a pig virus fridge.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows about this. There's this virus back in the day.
I think the only person that got that virus.
Tony and I worked in an office, and there was this virus that it would go on your computer and it would just go, and it was the sound of a pig, and it wouldn't go off. You had to shut the computer down or pull the plug on it, and it would make the sound of a pig. And Tony had that version of a refrigerator where it just made a fucking annoying sound.
You had that version of a computer.
And I had that version of a computer. It was like the craziest thing.
Yeah. That's also funny when like that's when viruses were like just like jokes. They're like practical jokes. You know what I mean? It's like the version of egging. Now it's like they steal your, social security and start buying stuff or like turning down like power plants and you just all types of crazy shit.
Well, that's like when people use other computers other than Macs. Like that's when like I think I had an Acer and like when Dell was like big and stuff like that. It's like those were like so prone to getting like viruses.
Dude, you're getting a virus.
Dude, you're getting a virus. Like all those like there's viruses all over my computer. Like I would like start moving around and like doing shit. It's like this thing is fucking like trash. I do that thing always like so many times. Like that's why Macs are the best because they don't. When's the last like time you had a Mac computer or like a MacBook Pro or something and you get like a spam? Never. No. It just doesn't happen. It never happens.
Dude, that used to be the thing when you like open up your like work computer, which is like a Dell, and it'd be like just click all the boxes just to close it down, just so you finally get to the application you're trying to go on and stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah, I do like, even though I don't like the fact that Mac has like zero compatibility with anything that's not a Mac brand thing.
I mean, but like what else would you use or like what does it matter? Like what else? What other?
Well, for me, nothing because I'm not trying to be like a computer engineer and stuff like that.
Like, like people that are like trying to build computers and stuff like, oh, like I'd never go Mac. I always go PC so I can build it out. It's like, all right, well,
I can build it to be just as bad as a Mac.
Just like a really shitty Mac. You can like make it your own or whatever. I'm like, whatever. For the extra like $500
Dude, I don't know if you remember when like
to just have it all done.
When the iMac came out, it was like the first one that like the actual screen was the tower. It was all like inside, all the guts were inside
like the ones that were blue and green.
No,
orange.
It was like it was just like a flat screen. Javas had one. It was like a lot of guys with Pro Tools or like Final Cut and all that kind of shit, or like they would use that because it was like the best on the market and stuff. But like it was very sleek, thin, looked like a LCD, plasma TV and shit. And then like there was like a PC version, and it like looked like they taped the tower on the back of the monitors, just like the janky ass shit. And just like,
fuck these guys.
No tower. Check this out. No tower. It's like with the whole fucking back. It's like a tube TV, just like you just attach.
Like the BlackBerry of computers and shit.
Yeah, like it's trash.
Oh yeah, check this out. Fucking duct tape.
We also had the same thing.
Good technological advances with Mac. I like how all that shit's like just streamlined. And now you don't even really need Apple TV. Like I just got a new TV. Man, you don't need Apple TV. It just comes on your TV. It's just there.
85 inches over here.
Like, why do they still even have that? I bought that not even that long ago. And like, that's just, I think, because our TV was so old when you lived there.
Apple TV is for like, older TVs that are not smart TVs.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, which is so weird too, that there's like, it doesn't seem like it's too long ago that like TVs were just regular and have all the apps and internet. Dude, because you just have a power cable. I have zero things attached to my TV. I have zero HDMI cables. Everything's just like streamed. And it's like Wi-Fi.
Yeah. It's like, it took me like 2 seconds to set up my TV. It was like, everything's here. What do you want? Yeah. And I was like, this is great. Like,
I don't even need like a sound bar or anything like that. Like, and two, there's like the other thing, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm like I've just downgraded my like standard of living with like with at home, like, televisions and shit. Like, I don't need the surround sound type shit. I'm like, like I don't need that anymore. Like that was a cool thing. It was a novelty when you're like, when you do that shit. But like, I don't know, just watching a fucking movie is like, it's rare enough that I do that. So like any kind of sound that's coming out of it, I'm happy with and shit. But I don't need to have that kind of like
full Dolby digital, like fucking earth shaking. Yeah. I had a incident yesterday with my across the hall neighbor. They're this cute little old couple. They're like in their 90s. And they made me feel really smart. They're like, "Oh, Eric, can you come over? Our TV's not working." And then I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "I got this." And so I go over there, and basically what they had was,
it's not plugged in.
It's not even plugged in. They had their like receiver for the TV. Like they had like a little like Apple TV box that like was for the volume or something, and it fell behind their TV stand, so it wasn't getting the signal. And so I just propped it up and put it up, and they're like, "Oh, you fixed it," And then I'm like, if you just had
my little Einstein.
Yeah, it's like old Russian couple. They're cute.
Such big brain and such small head.
Such big brain, little Einstein.
Tiny little ears with giant brain.
Yeah, it made me feel good about myself. But I'm like, man, if they just had like a modern TV, like they don't have to worry about any of this shit. Because like old TVs, like our old TV, there's like 5 remotes to like, all right, change the HDMI, change this to this, and hook this to that, and all this stuff. Like we had like
once this one's warming up, then you hit the other remote. Just like, dude,
like I remember like telling people like they're staying over, like, all right, here, you know, like sleeping in the living room, like, all right, this remote does this one does this. If you want to play a video game, this is that one. And it's like so fucking confusing. And now like new TVs are just like plug and play. They're like everyone is so fucking stupid now. We need to make these things like stupid.
Dude, you remember we had that HDMI box? Remember we had like the little thing?
I just took it away. I just like took that out. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this doesn't, we don't need this for anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a pointless thing. But we had like, I think we just bought a TV that was too old. So we like had a Jimmy rig, like all these.
We had like one
parts
HDMI input or something like that. We had that splitter. It was an HDMI splitter that you could switch. So we had the Apple TV cable and then like PS4 or something like that.
I do want to get a PS5, yeah, because your kid put like bologna sandwich or some shit in the fucking PS4 I borrowed you.
Shout out to Anthony.
Yeah. Nice job, buddy.
Future guest. Well, also Lenny got a PS5, so we can probably get on the grid.
Yeah.
He said that new like Call of Duty is pretty dope.
Yeah, I want to get that game and just kind of nerd out on that for a little bit.
Once I pay off my new refrigerator, I can wiggle around money and stuff to buy a PS5 because I wouldn't mind doing that, especially having like a giant ass TV and like a you know what I mean, everything kind of working all streamlined and stuff. But
yeah, it's fun having like a new like TV setup and all that stuff. I watched that new show Masters of the Air with the Elvis kid. The butler.
Oh, was that the pilot movie?
Yeah, it's like it's like I don't know how many parts of it is, but it's like Band of Brothers or like Saving Private Ryan. It's like that kind of a vibe, you know. So it's like really factual. It's like Steven Spielberg, I think, directed it with Tom Hanks. So it's got all this really good, like, you know, pretty accurate stuff. Like, you know, I would imagine they took it serious and like did everything like to the thing, but it's like graphic and like crazy and like it's like Memphis Belle. You remember that movie?
Yeah, great movie.
That was like one of my favorite movies as a kid, and it's like that, but it's a series. So it's like the belly gunners and the planes and like, you know, like we lost 22 or lost 11 guys. There's 22 that left, only 11 came back. You know, it's like
I didn't know what flak was till that movie Memphis Belle. And remember that? Like they're shooting the flak up at the planes and stuff like that.
Oh, that's what it is, like the bomb.
Like
yeah.
Like
it's like the same as like a submarine when they like put those like submersive bombs.
Whatever those things are. Again.
Yeah.
It's not a factual podcast, people. They're shooting things up in the sky, down to the ground.
Do your own research. All right.
Flak is so I can wear a flak jacket.
Yeah.
But like
just fucking nuts. Like watching that episode of like, you know, a few of those episodes, it's like they're just going up.
Wait, what's it on?
Like they're knowing it was on Apple TV.
Okay.
Apple TV, yeah. It just came out like maybe a week ago or something. And just like knowing that they're going into like these areas, they're like, yeah, like we're probably gonna die. Like, and
I
they're
would
like, all
feel
right.
like that anytime I went to anything in war, it's just like, all right, this is probably the last time I'm gonna do this. Like, you know what I mean? There's just, especially back then where there's, well, I mean, I wouldn't say, I guess anywhere. Now there's like guerrilla warfare and shit. But like those like the trench warfare type shit from like World War I, where you're just like in some real dire stuff or getting marched in like the freezing cold, like, no thanks, dude.
It was just like it just comes across as like so primitive. It's like
they still have fucking bayonets on their guns. You know, they still have bayonets on their guns in like Vietnam.
Well, that and like just in the Masters of Air thing, they're like showing the planes, and it's just like it's just a mess. It's like just planes like it's just like they're almost like shooting their own planes, and then like the guys are coming at them, and like their planes are all shut up, and they're like, we need to turn around. And he's like, no, we can still make it. Like this wing is gone. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? It's like insane. It's like just mutilated. The planes are just tore the fuck up, and like they just kept going. It's like super like brave people that like did all that stuff. Like,
I appreciate that, like, you know, just kind of sticking to the job, even though like you're basically fucked. You know what I mean?
You have to
and
like
it's like a I guess like a more classy version of a kamikaze thing. You know what I'm saying? But like you're still kind of like your fate is pretty much sealed by doing that. But like you have the occasional dudes that like, you know, can pull it off and stuff. Do you remember that? What was that pilot movie with James Franco? I think it's from World War I.
Pineapple Express?
Yeah, Pineapple Express. Super dope pilot movie. Yeah. It's way up in the sky.
James Franco, a pilot movie?
Yeah, it was like,
fuck, I don't
it wasn't like Flying Aces or something like that, but something along that lines. But it was World War I, so they still had like the cloth planes. And just that shit, like no cockpit. You had a scarf on and goggles. Like, dude, that would feel so sketchy. You're basically in a
like Red Baron style
sky motorcycle with a Tommy gun. You know what I mean? Like trying to fucking like kill people. Like, fuck that.
It's fucking.
They had pistol. They had like.
Yeah, it's like so. Like I definitely respect all the people that like fought in that war and did that stuff, because it's like such a death sentence. And then I think you have to like tell yourself like I'm gonna die. Like every time you went up, you're like I'm probably gonna die. So I guess if you just like go into that like that, like yeah, this is it, and then you can kind of like not be so like tense about it. But it just seems like such a just the moments of that show are just so intense. We're like, oh my God, like fuck this. This is insane. And they all did it. They all knew what they're signed up for and they all knew ahead of time. Then they're like, they get back from just barely making it. They're like, all right, we're going back out tomorrow. Like what? Like it's insane.
Yeah, so that was rough. Wait till you get tomorrow's the real deal.
It just gets like crazier. So then the guys that like actually survive that, like no wonder why they're just like, you know, like all messed up or like just like, you know, are cry anytime they see it. It's like, oh my God, like the trauma that they went through. My godfather's dad was a belly gunner in one of those planes, and he's this little fat guy, and he was always just like, he was fucking loved the guy, but he was always like, what the fuck you want? And always like kind of like that attitude, but like we all loved him, you know, but he was like tough like that, you know, like I could see him like, all right, what do I need to fucking do? Get me in the belly of the gun, you know, fucking like doing all this stuff. Like
he's always wore a helmet and had a cigar in his mouth.
Yeah. And he always wore his hat, like kind of like up crooked to the right, you know, whatever, like had his like, you know, how he, you know, you just picture him in that like setting. It was like really trippy talking to him about that stuff, but yeah man, just, absolutely crazy show to watch and a piece of history that hopefully never is repeated again.
Well, I don't think you can, man, because there's like I think we, you know, have done ourselves a disservice with like all like the weird lies and ulterior motives of getting into fights and wars with other countries and stuff. And then there's not that like pressing urgency where like you were attacked here, you know, by an actual like foreign country in like uniforms.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're Japan. We're saying let's battle. You know what I mean? It's different than like 9/11 and shit. Like it's, you know, hopefully we don't have to have that kind of thing. But I do feel like there would be a certain level of patriotism from, you know, most people. Because I do, as much as I like don't want to go to war, when like 9/11 happened, I thought for sure we're gonna get drafted. And I was also like, you know, kind of, you know, you had to talk yourself up. I'm like, all right, this shit happens, man. Like, you know, I'm fucking 18 years old, or I was about to be 19 or something like that. And, you know, could have easily gotten, you know, drafted and stuff. But that never happened.
Yeah, that stuff is just that's too crazy. Like I you know, anybody that is in the service and does that stuff, man, my hat goes off to you. That shit's fucking crazy.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. That's
fun Spielberg fact. You know, he produced The Goonies and Back to the Future, right?
Oh,
Did you know that both those two movies take place on the same Saturday in like 1984 or 85 or whatever it is?
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
It's like they reference like in The Goonies, they're picking up a newspaper with the Fratellis breaking out of jail. Stuff, and it says whatever like that it was from the Friday before, something like that, and it's a weekend because they're out of school. And then in Back to the Future, it's a Saturday or whatever, and it's just like, you know, has to be back.
So is that like an Easter egg? Like you think it's all planned?
Because it's like they're both Spielberg productions and stuff. I thought that's kind of cool.
I want to go see that Goonies house. It's in like Oregon, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I saw like something on it. Like you can go, like the owners that have it, like people always drive up to it and take pictures of it and shit.
Yeah, it's one of the best
pretty
movies.
much the same. Yeah, Goonies. What were we talking about? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes,
that's a fucking great movie. I saw that in the theater.
I did too.
Yeah. And I saw Back to the Future in the theater. That was fucking crazy.
I saw the other Back to the Futures. I didn't see the first one in the theater.
No.
But I did see The Land Before Time. So these are all movies we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Starting with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. First off, the dynamic with the two kids on both sides of the neighbors and stuff, and there's like the neighbor that's like the big Fisher guy, and then like it's just like it's an hour and a half movie, right? And if you've never seen it, spoiler alert, he shrinks the kids.
Spoiler alert.
And like, you know, it's like the synopsis is like, you know, they shrink him down to like a quarter of an inch, right?
Right.
So having that actual kind of like, you know, a relativity with the actual movie, it's just weird watching movies you watch as a kid, as an adult, and actually getting the context and the age of the characters and stuff is a lot different than watching it as like a, you know, a little kid. And then even moreover, being older than most of the parents in those movies at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't look into like how old Rick Moranis is supposed to be in that movie.
He's like 25.
Probably. Like for real. Because like his kids are like 12 and 10 or something like that.
Like whatever happened to like anybody from that fucking movie? Like Rick
Well, I
Moranis
looked
was,
it up. So Rick Moranis, he stopped acting because his wife got sick.
Yeah.
And passed and took care of the kids, which is super admirable, man. That guy's like just,
Yeah.
he's a great actor. He's great in everything. Because he's like
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's right.
Some
Ghostbusters
other
too.
good Rick Moranis movies.
Yeah, he was fucking great. He was always like
Yeah.
fun. Flintstones.
All right, who brought the dog? Like,
Yeah.
why don't we take a 5-minute break? All those like, that's right, Flintstones. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, then the guy, the neighbor dad, he went on to do some other stuff. I think like one of the boys from the neighbors was in Big and like a whole bunch of shit. He was actually probably the most successful out of all of them.
Really?
Blonde-haired kid that was like the best friend in the movie Big.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was in Big. Yeah. But then whatever happened to that kid? Because he was great too.
Funny you ask. He stopped acting, started an indie band, like a metal band and shit.
Really?
Yeah, I was trying to listen to him. I was like, that's not really my sound. I mean, it's not like it's something I would typically listen to, but I just wasn't really like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're still putting out music. The girl was also the girl that was in The Boy Who Could Fly. Remember that movie?
Really?
Yeah,
That's the same girl?
I'm almost positive.
I don't think so, man.
I'll do a quick IMDb. Yeah, hold on time. Sure. It's out
Look it
underneath
up
there.
yourself. Google it.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Put it in the comments. Like, no, stupid. It's not the same chick. I'm almost positive. That's another movie I want to watch with Anthony, but I don't know how I don't really know if I want to have a movie with the kids about to jump off
promoting
a house. Yeah.
jumping off of things
Yeah.
without being able to fly.
Because he's like autistic or whatever.
Yeah.
he's on the spectrum. He is the spectrum. But only reason being is because Fred Savage is in that movie and he's got all the G.I. Joes. And that's probably like the coolest display of G.I. Joes like ever. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, because when it starts raining, he's like, my G.I. Joes and all that
Yeah.
shit. And like, I just bought my kid a bunch of vintage G.I. Joes. So we're playing those now. And then, but I do that when I watch movies, like especially movies from our childhood, I always go on IMDb and I'll look at like who the, characters are, what else they've been in.
Radio
where they're-
Flyer. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember that movie.
That was a fucking good one.
Based on my childhood.
It was like a retarded kid that wanted to flying a fucking
Flying away from his abusive father.
Yeah, exactly. It was like all sorts of levels.
It's like my life, except for I was like not retarded and just waited till I got old enough to move away.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of really great movies back in the day, man, that like I need to watch again. There's still like the last time I think we might have talked about it was what is it, Atreyu and all that, like the
Oh yeah, the Never Ending Story.
Never Ending Story. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was great watching that again. That was like a trip.
Yeah.
So many good ones back in the day.
Yeah, dude. So Land Before Time, another thing that also came out in like '89. I saw that in the theater, and great animated movie, great character voices throughout.
Yeah.
Like, and I watched it with Anthony like probably 2 years ago. So it was like during the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm watching it, and I like pull up IMDb, and I start going through the characters. I was pretty sure that the guy who did the voice of Petrie was the guy who played like Lawnmower Man. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's got a very unique voice. And I was like, oh, that's definitely that guy's voice. So I look it up just to cross reference, and it wasn't. I want to read this bio because it's like when I read the one, so I'm going to apologize to everyone in advance. It came out in '88 for me trying to read aloud. But the girl who does the voice of Ducky's like the happy-go-lucky, like super energetic, like, optimistic, and like, Littlefoot's all sad because he lost his mom, and there's just like this whole thing, but she's the one that's cheering him up and stuff like that. And I look up, I was like, I wonder what she's up to now. And then I pull up the IMDb page. It's born June 6th, 1978, died July 25th, 1988. I'm like, what? At 10? I'm like, that's fucking crazy. And it's like, she's the only child of this like, immigrant family, the Barseys or something like that, and blah, blah, blah. Super successful career. Started off at like, doing commercials and shit when she was like 5. Then like, she gets to this point where she's making like $125K a year. Her parents no longer have to work. They buy a nice house up in the valley in like Sherman Oaks or something like that. And then it gets to the end of the bio, and it's like, because her dad, as her success rose, her dad just became more of a violent alcoholic for some reason.
He didn't have to work. He was just like, all right,
yeah, I don't know.
make
Like,
money.
just clearly just like a fucking nutcase. And then like the Child Protective Services, like, was called a few times on the family and stuff. And it says on Wednesday, July 27th, Eunice Daly, a next door neighbor, heard a loud bang next door while watering her plants. The house had been set on fire, and later the Barris's bodies were discovered, shot dead. Yeah.
Jesus.
And then his on it says all Judith's toys that were not destroyed by the fire were given to a local Goodwill, and her best friend continued to feed her cats for the next few months afterwards. That's how it's like. No wrapping up like
there's a lot of blood on these Legos.
it's just like what? I don't give a fuck about the toys or the cat. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, that's just how you end it. It's just like successful career, then some shit a little wonky. Dad murdered everybody, and there's some toys that went to Goodwill, and then they watched the cats for a few months. I'm like, what about the rest of the months after that? Like, what? There's like zero closure on that. But I was like, dude, it fucked me up, man, because I'm like watching this movie with my kid, right? I think he's like 2 at the time, and I was like, damn, that's like crazy, because like that means because that movie was a fall release, right?
Yeah.
So anytime if you've ever seen that movie, you've only ever heard a dead kid's voice, which is so fucked up because it's such a good movie. And it's just like, oh, what a tragic story. That poor little fucking kid. And like, she's forever like,
yeah, she's immortalized
in this like, great animated movie. And I never really noticed how much the difference in like the subsequent sequels, the voice of Ducky was. But I'm like, damn, that's fucking crazy, because the most happy, chipper little kid was just like living some shit ass life because of her fucking deadbeat dad, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking. But I always tend to like just stumble on that kind of shit, man. Like, I don't know if it's like the gumshoe true crime in me.
Yeah, that's because you watch true crime all the time.
Yeah.
You're like a chick with that shit. You're like, when I lived with you, you're like, come home and it's like, as they open up the potty cavity and they find semen in the fucking chest. And they're like, I'm like, what the fuck are you watching by yourself?
Just something to get me ready for bed.
Eating spaghetti and shit.
Hey man,
like,
when you don't have dreams, you don't have to worry about what you watch before you go to bed. It's all the same shit.
Did you ever watch that movie, The Explorers?
No.
Really? Never seen that?
Never heard it. Is it new?
River
Old?
Phoenix is in it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, he's
So
like a
it's new,
kid.
huh?
He's like fucking, yeah. He's like fucking like 10
Coming this fall.
in it. Like, he's super young. And there's like, I don't think that anybody else in the movie is like.
Wait, is that the one with Keanu Reeves?
No.
Oh, no, that's my own private alma or something.
It's River Phoenix, and like, he's like a scientist kid.
I have IMDb up right here, so let me pull it up.
And then there's like 2 other guys that are like, I think no-name actors. And then they like build like an anti-gravity like sphere. And then they build like a janky like spaceship to go explore. And so they like travel all over like their town. And
Ethan Hawke, dude.
Oh, Ethan Hawke's in it. That's right. He's
85.
Like, yeah. Great fucking movie. They go and like find like aliens and then like board their spacecraft.
Dude, I think I actually might have seen that.
It's a great movie. One of my favorites as a kid, because one of like the grungy kid who like helps him, like he has a mini bike, and I really was into mini bikes, and I was like, oh, it's so cool. He's got a mini bike in the movie. He gets to ride whenever he wants. That's how he gets around in town. I'm like, why can't I have that?
That's how people do it nowadays,
Yeah.
It's mini bikes everywhere.
Gas prices are so high.
Yeah.
It's got to get a mini bike.
Gotta check that out. There's like, again, I like going back through childhood movies, especially things that like, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids that are like, pretty good. There's like nothing crazy happening, but like it's fun stuff to watch with my kid. You know what I mean?
Naked Gun, Hot Shots, all that shit. That whole series is just great.
I like to watch those again, but I don't think this is like the best for my kid yet. But that's the thing is like, I don't like, YouTube and all these like, stupid animated things. Like sometimes I just want to have him like have focused attention for like an hour for him to like try to just kind of chill and like, it's a rainy day yesterday. So just like cuddle up on the couch watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and then came back on again after we were done because we were doing other shit. But
movie always got me hungry when he's eating the big fucking oatmeal raisin cookie with the filling.
Oatmeal cream pie.
Man. When I was a kid, I would go to town on food when
Well, it's funny because I forgot. Remember they had a ride. There's a ride for that. Universal City Studios.
I don't know. I ate a lot of food during that.
No, but there's like,
remember.
There was like the bowl of cereal. He's eating the Cheerios, right? And then like, Nicky gets stuck he falls in the dog. Like,
yeah.
Like I forgot how everything kind of like all happens. And it's a pretty quick moving movie, but it's also funny because like the neighbor's like this, like kind of like a jock, like a sportsman type dude, and then like the super nerdy like neighbor, and like there's just like that kind of like, hey Zelensky, you gotta trim the grass, looking like a lawn forest over there. And he's all like, oh, looks like you're trying to make some CO2 for the ozone or whatever the fuck it is, and it's just like that kind of dopey thing. And then like he's also like The movie starts off and like him and his wife are like bickering. Like she spends the night at the grandma's house and shit. And like the daughter's like concerned that the parents are getting a divorce. It's like, oh, this is like a really high stakes opening and stuff. And like by the end of the movie, it's like, she's like, hey mom, are you and dad gonna be okay? She's like, oh, we are. I love your father. She's like, he just shrunk your kids and the neighbor kids and luckily figured out how to fix it and stuff. But like, there's like, that's what saved your marriage. Like, they're just crazy. It's crazy shit. Like that story
had like
arc.
2 more off of that.
And there's Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. And then I don't know what the other one was.
Like blew up the baby
Blew
or
the
something.
baby,
Or something like that. Yeah, those
baby.
We were talking about like ages of all these people, and then you talked about
Married with Children.
Married with Children. Yeah, that's a great show, and it's so relatable. Like being a 40-plus-year-old man and just being like, I don't know if it relates to like, if you relate to like kids, but it definitely like makes me.
When you're a kid, when that came out, just like The Simpsons, you related to Bart, and then you also related to Bud Bundy. You know what I mean? In a sense, when like that came on, but like I don't know what age I was where I was like, no, Al's my dude. I'm Al Bundy. That's like, and I definitely like feel like that. Yeah, Peg. You know, just like especially when I was married.
Like I knew my dad was Al when I'd watch that. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's how dad is, you know. But then now I'm like, oh, like I get why he's like that. Yeah, like I get like all of the baggage and all of like the.
He's a Dodge guy too.
What's that?
Al Bundy's a Dodge guy.
Oh yeah.
He's a Dodge. Shitbox Dodge.
Yep, he is a Dodge guy. Yeah, he's fucking that show. And when I watch like little clips of it, like it's just like, oh man, they fucking nailed it.
Dude, there's so many good things on that show.
And he's in
like,
customer service too. He's a shoe salesman, and he's like fucking just talking the most shit to all these fucking women.
The other thing,
everybody, men and women,
like the no ma'am thing in there. That's like definitely wouldn't play these days. You know what I mean? Like just talking about all the heifers that would come in there and stuff. Just like,
oh yeah, just straight up like just calling chicks fat asses and this shit to their faces.
You size 6 with what, 1 toe? Like just fucking shit talking. And then the neighbor Marcy Darcy, like great, but
he almost didn't get that role. Like he had to like try, like they didn't want him for that role originally.
Yeah, no,
like he had to try for it like a few times, and then finally they're like, once they did like the pilot or something, it was like awesome and like everybody loved him. And then they were like, all right, I guess. But all the executives were like against him being the guy, which is so funny. Now he's like in like fucking jujitsu. I guess he's been into that for a long time.
Huh.
He's like really good at jujitsu and karate and stuff. And I saw this thing. It was like Al Bundy, and he has his hand in his like gi with like his belt, and then it was like Keanu Reeves was next to him, and in like his gi, and it was like crazy to think that the Al Bundy could beat the shit out of Keanu Reeves in real life. Yeah, like he's like a black belt in like jujitsu. Like he's like a fucking like a badass. Crazy. It makes his like legend even cooler. You know, like he's like this awesome dude. That's like that movie.
4 touchdowns.
Was it? Fuck, what was it? He's like a stepdad who's trying to Dutch.
Yeah.
That was a great movie too, man. That was a fucking killer movie.
Man, I wonder what happened to that kid. Was that Ethan Suplee? What the fuck was that kid?
I don't know. I think that kid was like a one and done. He was in that, maybe like one other movie in the 80s, and then that was it. I don't remember. Maybe like a Mighty Ducks.
Are you sure that's not the kid from like Can't Hardly Wait?
Oh, wait. Is that? I think that so, is dude. The kid. Yeah. Shit, man, you're right.
Look it up right now, dude.
Dude, I think you're right on that.
It is, dude.
He's like 5 in that. That was him, 100%.
Yeah, or Ethan Embry. My bad.
That's funny. What the fuck happened to that kid now?
Well, I don't know. He had a good. I mean, for being in like
half these people are probably like dead or like
that thing you do. You do a bunch of stuff, man. Yeah,
like they're like super old now. Like they're fucking on like dialysis.
Damn, Ed O'Neill.
It's like
I was born in 46, so he's like what 78?
78, yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Fucking did it twice. Modern Family. Fucking came back and did the whole thing again.
Yeah.
He still kind of plays the Al Bundy character a little bit
Similar.
of that.
Just rich instead of being poor this time.
Yeah. It's kind of like
another hot wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good for Ed O'Neill, man. I always had like a hot chick plan. Is like
he never really did movies. He was in Wayne's World.
Yeah, he's got a great role in Wayne's World.
He plays basically Al Bundy in Wayne's World. Just like the fucking bitter fucking like line cook. He's like fucking hates everybody.
cleaning my buddy's brains off, whatever the hell he says.
Yeah, that's right. He has like super fucking like crazy.
Yeah, dark anecdotes. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's
dude.
Yeah, Wayne's World. That's another great fucking movie like series. Those were like super.
Actually, you know
goofy.
what is the most underrated and like overlooked Mike Myers movie? You're right.
So I Married an Actor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to know something funny, dude? Is like his best friend in that movie, the one that's like worried about his safety.
Yeah.
Looks just like Alex and Soliaga.
He does look
Like
similar to
I
him,
watched that like not too long ago. I'm like, Alex, bro, like that ain't you didn't tell me you're in So Married an Axe Murder. It's like that is like the best thing about that movie is Mike Myers just plays it straight. He's just a guy when he's playing himself,
Yeah.
right? He does do his dad, which is then eventually becomes
Yeah.
adapted to Fat Bastard and stuff. When he
Yeah,
does Austin
it's
Powers
true.
and stuff.
It's very true.
But he's just
Pence,
yeah.
new.
Yeah. Look at the boy's head. It's round yet spherical.
Yeah.
Looks like Sputnik.
Yeah, he's fucking great in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a under the radar movie too.
Yeah.
Super funny.
No, I don't think that chick's done anything since then.
That's like the only movie that I think. Well, she was in. Fucking what the hell else was she in? She was in another movie that was pretty popular too. But that's like I'd say the only movie that Mike Myers did where he actually just plays like
A guy.
like a normal guy.
Yeah.
You know, granted he does
Harriet,
play.
sweet Harriet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Unlove Ed. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
man.
great, dude. Well,
See, you don't need to go outside. You just fucking sit home, watch some fucking good movies.
yeah. Well, we're doing some in the field reconnaissance tomorrow. Eric and I are going to a mixer, pre-Valentine's Day mixer.
All right.
All right, watch out, ladies. Couple of past their prime 40-somethings with
Yeah, right.
baggage.
That's weird.
We
Like-
haven't done this since we moved out here, which is cool. And it's like a friend's thing, so it's just like a real like I don't really care. I'm like
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean,
I'm just going for the stories.
Yeah,
But like,
but it's
tune in
like
next week.
it's still weird. Like when you go out, I don't know. Like when I go out, or like if there's like especially this is like a specifically like a singles thing. It's just
Yeah.
like, all right, like done
Well, you know
this
what's
in
funny,
over
dude?
a
It's like
decade, and this is
I got a
it's
feeling
just
like
weird.
I'm curious to see how much I'm gonna be like wondering what other people's like flaws. I'm like, why are you still single? Like, what's up with you? You know what I mean? And then like I know it sounds judgy.
Well, I was
but
doing that before I got in a long-term relationship. I was like, yeah, no, you believe this or like that. That's your view on that.
Yeah.
No, like, sorry. Like, like just like
Yeah.
very like, no.
Yeah. Again, I don't really care about like, I'm just, again, I got a Friday off from parenting. Might as well go have a good time.
Yeah. It's probably the best mindset to go in when you are, I guess going to meet people is just have zero expectations.
Yeah.
Just assume everybody is just horrible.
Real Al Bundy mentality.
Well, we have a whole room of horrible people. Let's start just confirming all these, preconceived notions about everybody before talking to them.
Two other things I had in my notes. I just looked.
Drink your beer was one of them.
Drink my beer.
Take a sip
wet,
of
wet
beer.
the whistle. Podcast. So I listened
That's
to.
two. We're already doing it.
Here we go. That was a note.
You got both of them. Drink beer, have a podcast.
Done. Aaron,
Boom.
wrap it up. I was listening to this podcast. It's called High Roller Heist, and it's about this guy who knocks off a Vegas casino. Right, so you're talking about your new roommate and his line of work and stuff, and just made me think about that because it's crazy. Because this dude was like, his name's Tony, also, and I'm like, I gotta just I'm like, I could see it in a different life, like. If I got hooked on Oxycontin, I'd probably have some harebrained idea and stuff. But like, he basically is at this point where in his life where he's just in a downward spiral and just things aren't really, going the way for him. He's like going to med school and then like, he's actually doing still pretty good on his tests and stuff. But like, he ends up like snorting like Oxycontin in his like fucking car and misses like an exam and then fails that semester. And he's like, now he's broke. He's got this like super expensive addiction. And he also was like addicted to gambling. So he's at this like table. And like, this kid gets wiped out and he pulls out like a Crown Royal bag and he's got like $150,000 in chips in that bag alone. He's like, how is this fucking kid like my age, if not younger, and just has like a Crown Royal bag full of like 150K?
Yeah, where did you get that from?
Yeah, right?
Sounds like Ocean's 11.
It is. So it's just like this thing. And the guy's like, man, I was thinking about just knocking him off. And he's like,
That kid's name was Brad Pitt. His friend was George Clooney.
Yeah. There was 10 or 9 other ones.
Some Asian guy that could jump and spin really good and get into vaults.
Contortionist, yeah. He'd make himself small. So he ends up like just kind of like, gets this idea. He's like, I should rob that guy. No, fuck, don't rob an individual person, rob a casino. So he gets this idea in his head and then like starts to like, plot it out. And then the desperation kind of expedites his process. And then because he ends up losing like $30K. And he's like, I really got to rob something. So he knocks off this one casino, but he does it on a motorcycle. So he rolls up there. He kind of cases it out. He's got like, he wore like extra layers under his jacket so his body looked a little bigger and stuff, his frame. He wore like a Nixon mask under his motorcycle helmet and shit and like put like tape all over his helmet so you couldn't see any of the logos and stuff. And then like goes in there and like just had his backpack on backwards and just fucking.
How did he get the money? Like what did he
just
do?
Walks up to like the table and just starts, like pulls the gun on him, like just fucking
grabs chips or like money?
Chips, just ton of chips. Just sweeps them into his backpack and then just
can't they like detect like, oh, like these are like marked like numbered in the back or something? So like, oh, those are the ones that were stolen.
You know how impossible that'd be to track? They're
but
like,
I mean, they got to cash them into that casino, right?
Yeah, that's the catch, right? So he basically does this one casino and then he ends up like finding someone to broker like or someone to go change him out or something like that. Like, I think he had like a chick to do it or something like that. And then, but he only got like $20K. So he's still like, he got
this girl named Julia Roberts to go in.
And then she goes and with the coin, she's like, big mistake. Yeah.
Pretty Woman. Another movie.
So Pretty Woman and this guy. No,
this Pretty Woman and this guy rob a bank, rob a casino.
So he obviously doesn't make enough money to clear his debt, right? So then he's like, being like this, weird drug mindset is like, fuck, I got like, and within 5 days plots another one and knocks off the Bellagio. And they kind of give you a lot of bio on the Bellagio because it's in Oceans 11, 10, 12, 13, all the oceans,
all the oceans.
And like how much of like that was like a $1 billion construction back in like 1998 or something like that. It was a huge thing. I didn't really realize that because like I wasn't living out here yet. I moved out here like 5 years after that.
It's probably like $1 trillion now with inflation.
For sure. Like, yeah, $9 trillion structure.
It's a $9 trillion.
Sorry, national debt for a building and stuff. And but this dude, and he actually knocks it off like at its prime. And he goes up there. There's like a small little VIP entrance with like a little, horseshoe driveway, parks his bike at the valet, turns it around, leaves the key in it and stuff, walks in with the helmet on and just kind of like walks past people. He went in there between like 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. So this is also, I think that around the time that he robbed, it was like, I think it might have been 2008 when he robbed. It was built in 98 and he robbed like 10 years later. So it was like during the time the recession hit. So like they were cutting back on staff. There wasn't much security and stuff like that. And like he like almost bumps into a security chick on the way in. And that's the only one he saw the entire time he was there. And then like, I haven't seen the footage of it, but I guess there's footage of him like doing it. But he kind of goes down the wall and just kind of like, shimmies down there wearing his helmet the whole time and does the same thing, just scoops a shit ton of chips. And like, so there's like one chip that he got that's like a $25,000 chip that has like, you can't actually like get it from the bank. You need to like have that from like production value. You need to like get it from like, you just kind of like, it's like when you play checkers, you get like, kinged, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like this weird thing where it's like, you only can get that at the table. So it has no value. So basically like you couldn't cash him in, but he gets all like he gets like $1.5 million or something.
Holy shit.
Yeah. He scores big, right? And he ends up going back to the casino to like cash him in. And they're like, hey, you're a high roller. Why don't you stay at our hotel? Like this basically like lives it big in Vegas and shit. That like,
what?
After
the place he robbed.
Yeah, that's as far as I'm at. So I really don't know.
One reverse mortgage, please.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, yeah, I'm a big winner here. Big winner. Yeah. How'd you win? This fucking 9mm right here.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I like hearing stories like that.
Me too. I would never do it, but
yeah, it's like
cool
good
to
for
hear.
That
like,
guy. He didn't hurt anybody, right?
No.
He just scared the shit out of a lot of people.
And I don't know what he did like at jail time yet, because it's a weekly.
How's he get
podcast.
caught?
I don't know. I haven't
You
heard
know
the
that?
next episode yet.
Tune into our podcast to find out.
We'll talk about another
the other
podcast, I'll give you my shitty version of that story.
We're chomping at the bit.
Yeah. Ooh, I can't wait to find out about that.
What if that's what our podcast is? We just listen to other podcasts and then just like,
So guys, check this out. Another podcast.
they're talking about this. They have something actually important to
that
say.
is the other thing though too, is like, again, I was listening to another podcast and like a true crime podcast. So both these are crime related ones. And I'm trying not to listen to as many murder ones and stuff. Cause like now that I've turned 40, had some trauma, I never killed anybody. I know I'm not gonna do it. Yeah. No, I have all the reasons to kill people, you know, love triangles, money, all that stuff. Didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I know it's not in my DNA. I'm good.
You're good.
So I don't need to watch those anymore. Because I used to always watch true crime. I'm like, oh my God, so when's it gonna happen? I'm like a white male. Does that fit all the criteria?
When is it gonna
Yeah, when am I gonna snap? And I'm like, yeah, turns out I'm not going to.
Is that chromosome gonna like
I'm unstappable.
into...
Yeah. My brother, who's you gotta watch out for. Donnie, shout out to you. Not really shooting anybody. Yeah, the podcast I was listening to though, was talking about that Soul Asylum song, Runaway Train.
Oh, yeah.
So 1993, Soul Asylum releases a song, Runaway Train, right? And I remember that.
Runaway train, never coming back.
Yeah.
Runaway. Yeah.
So you and I were 11.
I wonder
when
how
this
many
happened.
people that watch this that aren't our age know anything about that song. They probably they were like, what the fuck you guys
Jeff, our
talking
bartender,
about?
knows about that song. And it's funny because like,
Well, he's like 35,
he's
isn't he?
33 or 32. He's like super young.
Yeah. That's like still only like 6 years.
But dude, he was
younger
like
than us.
1 when that song
7
came out.
years. I guess so.
Yeah, but like 10 years older than him. So I was like a full-on 11-year-old kid, prime for kidnapping or running away on the train. You know,
Hot little piece of
and never come
fucking-
back.
Hot little piece of
come
11-year-old
steal me.
ass.
Yeah.
Just come steal me.
Eating lollipops at the park by myself. No, there's no parents around for miles, stranger. I do love kittens and candy and vans.
Yeah.
We talked about this. Me and my brother almost got kidnapped before, and like that.
You and your brother did?
Yeah, dude. There's like it was a blue 4-door car that like pulled up in front of my parents' house, and Donnie and I were just sitting on the little culvert, those drain pipes that come into the street. In Wisconsin, we have ditches and stuff, and our legs are kind of just kicking over the thing. And all of a sudden, this car full of teenage boys pull up, and they just run to grab us. And we hopped down and ran in the culvert, and then they tore off. And it was on the news that like this pale blue sedan was like picking up kids or some shit. Yeah, dude. Yeah. So like, and I don't know what they were doing. They're trying to scare kids or like whatever. It was a scary fucking thing. You got that pit in your stomach, like this is you know, danger, run. So, but that's right around the time this song came out, and in the video they have like 36 different like profiles of kids and little kind of like vignettes of like how they got kidnapped or whatever, ran away or whatever caused them to go and stuff. And it was interesting to find out because like for whatever reason you see stuff like that and you never actually look into it. Same thing with the kids like you'd see on the milk cartons. Like I never checked in that stuff. I was just like, okay, well, food for thought. If I ever see them, call. Like I would love to know what happened to those kids. Like I was not collecting those as a kid to see like, oh, look at this 10 years from now, see if they ever found them. But 22 out of those 36 cases were closed. Not all of them were like good. So like I think maybe half of them were like came home. The other half were dead, unfortunately, and stuff.
Right.
And then this podcast I listened to is trying to like shine some more light on the other cases and stuff. And like I happened to like, I was like blown away because I was like, I saw the title of the episode. And I was like, really fucking Soul Asylum? I'm like, what the fuck is this really about that, actual like song? And then sure enough it was. So then Jeff comes in the break room. I'm like, and I said, I'm like something Soul Asylum. I was like, bro, why'd you say it? I'm like, because I was listening to this podcast and he shows me this photo. He's like, I was listening to that podcast. I'm like, no fucking way.
Really?
Yeah. But I was like, that's so crazy when you hear like just those like stories. That's the thing that's intriguing. And like, and I always feel like that's why I like true crime stuff is like things to look out for. Right. And there's like those, 9 times out of 10 people are kidnapped or from somebody, in the family. First, it's the inner circle first and foremost. And then, it's like it's not very often that some random person just, plucks a kid and stuff.
Yeah.
There is the case of like that, I know my name is Steven thing. Another childhood movie do you remember that movie?
Yeah. It's like two brothers or something?
Well, there was like 2 brothers and a couple sisters or something like that. But like the kid, his name was Steven, right? And then he ends up like getting kidnapped. I think he was like 10 years old. He was kidnapped for like 7 years because he was like 17 when he like broke out because him and his dad got in a fight. It was around the holidays, right? And he ended up like writing his name on the garage door, And his dad's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Writing your fucking name on the ground?" Like, he had him paint. Like, it was like, "Can I have him paint over it?" And they get in a fight. They go to the mall. He gets separated from his family. This like strange guy comes up. He's like, "Hey, your dad, said you're coming with me now. Like, yeah." He's like, "You guys been fighting, huh?" And the kid's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, that they don't want you anymore, so you live with me." And like the kid just kind of, yeah, dude, just like fucking like brainwashed a 10-year-old and shit. And it's just like, I want to instill it to my kid. I'm like, I'll never give you away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just there's a naive, malleable mind that can be fucking convinced.
Like when I was a kid, like that, like those, like, you like watch Unsolved Mysteries and you see the kids on the car.
What do you think Anthony watched before this?
Yeah. Like you're terrified of that. Like when you're a kid, you're like, that's like the scariest thing is like stranger danger and like being abducted and all that stuff. I remember one time I went to a birthday party of a friend of mine at Chuck E. Cheese. And I got like separated. Chuck E. Cheese isn't that big, but I got separated from like the party, and I was like young. I was like, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 or something like that. So like young enough to like not know where I is, where I is. And I remember like going to like the cashier, and I was like, I'm lost. I don't know where my friends are. I don't know where the parents are for this and all this stuff. And they sat me on like the register, and they just asked people that were leaving, is this your kid? Is this your kid? And I was like, oh my God. I remember having like so much anxiety, like as a kid being like, what if someone says like I have to go with them? Like they're an adult. I'm just a kid. They're going to believe the adult because the adults are the adults. And it was just like, that's why so many fucking kids got like
for sure
taken away in the fucking like 80s. They didn't have any protocol. They weren't like, where's your ID or like, what's your phone number or like anything or I don't know, just some kind of protocol.
Dude, I like that. Like the security that I have with my school for my kid now and like how I have to sign him out and stuff. And there's like, it's locked down and it's pretty regulated and shit. Yeah. And like, scary thing is there's fucking it might be locked down, but there's also psychopaths in it that shoot the places up and shit. So there's like, pros and cons, but like, the ease of like just someone like sending someone to pick their kid up and stuff, that's not a thing anymore, dude. And I remember one time,
that like, do you guys have to have like school shooter fucking like prep and all that stuff? Like
we haven't, but John Sullivan's kid was like, he was at his kid's school and they did an active shooter drill, and like it happened to be like the place where like the cop was like his daughter's classroom and stuff. And it was just like I have to have him on the podcast to talk about stuff because it was like pretty crazy. But all that to say, Anthony's school, they're, pretty strict about like, logging in and out for the kids and stuff. But like my Uncle Greg picked me up from school one day and like I was like refusing a ride with him. I was like, no. And even though he's family, I was just like, I don't know. I'm not supposed to take rides. Like, Tony, I don't know him that I'm your uncle. Like, your cousin's in the car. I'm like, I don't know. I'm supposed to like, and I'm sure my mom was picking my dad up from like a drunk bar or something like that or whatever the hell it was. But like, I was just like reluctant to do that because it was so ingrained in my mind. Like, do not trust anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to kidnap you and fuck you or whatever the fuck it is or murder you.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Dude, there was a guy down the street, Pat Rourke, man. He's probably dead now or in jail, but either way, I'm not worried about doxing him because he's a piece of shit. But like he was a known child molester and he molested kids in my neighborhood, dude.
Yeah.
So like the same block that like he lived on, and he's part of my paper route too, dude. And then one time I went over there.
He's like washing his car and Daisy Dukes and shit. He's like, hey.
He had remote control, those like those remote control cars. Like those like lunchbox cars. Yeah. That like ran off fuel. He had us in his basement. Dude, he walked me down there, man. And I got that fucking, fuel in my stomach. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. And I ran the fuck up the stairs and got out of there. Didn't get touched, but I didn't get touched. But it was close, man.
Didn't get diddled.
Didn't get diddled, but it was, close to getting the diddle fiddle and stuff. Fiddle and the diddled. Yeah, man. Damn, there's something else.
Yeah, that shit's fucking scary for like, little kids and shit, and like, just growing up at that age when you're at that age, especially in the time where we grew up, there was like none of that. Like none like at least like now, like, okay, like you can like call someone, you have cell phones, you have like more access to like information and kid. Like yeah, like you might as well. I think everybody should. Just like everyone should be chipped.
Yeah.
Like why not? Why not just chip everybody? Just put a little chip.
Yeah, I'm not like,
and not even for the government, just for yourself. Like, hey, you like as a family, like, hey, we're all have these chips. They're one-offs. Only we have it, and like we just track each other. Like no one else has the information. Like just do that. Like why not?
Well, we have tracking on all the phones and like my ex's family and stuff. And I would like to get something on with Anthony, like a air tag or whatever, so he can be tracked and stuff. Because that's really my concern, and that's like why.
Dude, it's the dogs.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a little.
I just don't know because like
the ear.
Kids can like choke themselves with necklaces and stuff. Just they're figuring out where I can put
like,
you know,
like a dog collar or something.
no, I mean I would put like an actual necklace on with them, you know, but like
it's like this big box, like beep beep beep. Like
yeah.
Tony's kid's chipped.
Yeah.
That's a chip kid over there.
Yeah, old Chippy over
He's
there.
really paranoid about
Chippy Longstocking. Yeah,
Chippy Longstockings over there.
yeah. But dude, that's the thing, man. Is like, cause we'll get like, you know, he's a cute kid, dude. And when I was walking him home from his, daycare a couple years ago, and that dude is like trying to give him candy and stuff, and I was like, initially, oh, it's a nice guy, and I was like, oh, you're fucking like prepping my kid. You're trying to do some weird shit where like you're gonna catch him, and I'm not around, and he's like, why don't you hop in the van? Your dad said for me to come pick you up, and then I don't have a kid anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I just go on like a lifelong vendetta, killing like pedophiles and shit. Swear to God, dude.
Yeah, that's terrifying, for sure. But that's why you got to get your kid chipped, man.
Yeah, get some chips, man.
Get some chips.
Not just Lay's.
Yeah,
get the real chips.
Chip your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Unless you want to swallow your cell phone. Unless you're capable of swallowing. Like, I'm getting abducted. You're like,
just drink some more water.
You doing swallowing your phone? Yeah. It's got the iPhone app on it.
Find my kid.
Find my kid app.
Find my Anthony.
Yeah, man.
It's scary, dude. There's like again, we live in such a big city and stuff. And like, obviously you and I come from like a small town-ish thing. It's not like we, milked our own cows and stuff, but it's not to this degree of just like, there's so many transient people and not just like the homeless people, but just like people come in and they stay for a few months and they leave and it's not for them. And just like, they can come in and out of town. That's why we got sidetracked. I know my name is Steven, right? So the movie,
bringing it back.
Yeah, bring it back. It's a Lifetime movie. I highly recommend seeing it. Watch it. Make your kids watch it. I'm gonna make my son watch it right after this. And the dude ends up getting like, abducted by this guy. And this is upstate California, right? So he gives him this whole story about how his family doesn't, want him and all this kind of shit. And like that movie scared the shit out of me as a kid, right? And then he ends up with this guy for like 7 years, gets new identities and some new school. He's kind of like, bad boy. His dad let him smoke cigarettes and drink and shit. That's, he was kind of like a cool kid, but like he was getting diddled, like that's the, so, and then, about like 7 years into living with this guy, this other little 7-year-old boy comes home with him and he gives him the same story. And the kid's like, yeah, my family didn't want me and all that shit. And he's like, oh shit, it clicks. He's like, oh, he did this to me. He's like, fuck this. So I'm getting out of here. So he busts out of there. He like, walks like 2-3 miles down the street to the sheriff's department, tells them the whole story, rescues this kid, becomes a hero, gets back with his family. Really? His dad never painted over where his name was on the garage, like just fucking left it there. Felt terrible. Like he just carried the weight of his kids, kidnapping his entire life, dude. And just like was, super apologetic about it and stuff. And then they have like, they're all reunited and stuff. And like the kid just couldn't shake the kidnapping man. And it'd be like, getting in a car accident and dying, and they think it was kind of a suicide thing, but he was like, like, woo, living on the edge, like, kind of out of control, like drinking and stuff. And he's just like, cause he never really came back. He came back, but he didn't and stuff like that. But he did save that other kid's life, right? So tragic tale. A couple years ago, I'm watching this documentary about the actual movie, and he's got his older brother, like, was super jealous about the attention that his kidnapped brother got and stuff, because every time they do a Christmas photo, they would take a picture of Steven with him in the family photos and stuff. Like, they never like let him go. They were always like, had belief that he'd come back and stuff.
Yeah.
And his older brother's name is Carrie, and they start showing this archival footage of the news reporters and stuff like that, and you could see him just like kind of staring like this, like, creepy dark stare at his brother, like just jealous and shit. So upstate California, a couple years ago, there's like a Northern California serial killer. Turns out it's the brother.
Really?
A fucking full-blown serial killer, dude. Like,
holy shit,
killing people and shit. So he ends up like, and then it really, when you like watch those true crime things and you see like the family photo, and then like you're like, there's something behind that dude's eyes. It's like that.
Yeah.
And all the new stuff.
Like black eyes.
Yeah, just like this,
no,
like dead behind there, and then like, just like this mother and daughter go missing on like a boat trip and stuff like that, and like they end up finding them, and like some like linens that happen to be tied to this like hotel that this guy Carrie works at. He's the maintenance guy, and they start putting things together, and like it all comes back that like he was jealous about his brother's like attention and stuff like that, and like led him down the road to be a serial killer. I'm like, Jesus Christ! And this poor mom's just like doing this like interview, and she's like, I don't want to talk about Carrie. I don't want to talk about Steve. It's like, what do you want to talk about then? It's like, like, and I understand that, but just like as poor one, like the poor, you just feel bad. It's just like, damn, that sucks. Like you had, you know, up until like maybe 1984, you had a beautiful family, and it all went to shit. And then, like, you know, even when you got your one kid back, he died a couple years later, and then your other one went on to be a murderer. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What a fucking shit show that is. So on that happy note.
That's the end, huh?
Yeah, I think we're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tony,
All right,
where can people find you?
Right back here next week with some updates on a mixer that Eric and I are going to.
Yeah.
A couple of single dudes out there.
I'm sure that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find me at Tony Klein Comedian on Instagram, any kind of random bar show around here, at Ralph's, you know, with my kid.
Find me at Ralph's too.
Probably just hanging out at Ralph's.
Hanging out at Ralph's, just shopping, getting food.
Not even the store, our buddy Ralph's.
Yeah.
But thanks for tuning in. Eric, where can the good people find you at?
You can find me at Eric Rustler on Instagram. They can find this podcast, more importantly, at The Eric and Tony Show on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Every Monday, we post the full episode and audio version on Spotify at The Eric and Tony Show. So make sure you like and subscribe. Same thing on YouTube. We do the full video version every Monday at The Eric and Tony Show. And then throughout the week on all those platforms, we post 60-second clips because that's what they allow us to do. They don't allow you to do more than 60 seconds. So it's 60-second clips, a little cliff notes of the podcast of its entirety. And if you want to help support the podcast, you can go to theericandtonyshow.com and purchase one of these beer mugs. We're waiting for somebody to fucking buy one of these goddamn things. All right. There's shelves of them. We need to sell these fucking things.
The beer just tastes so much better with my face on it.
Yeah. And you can buy some t-shirts too. If you like the podcast, like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Get yourself a mug, hang out, listen to us talk some shit, and enjoy the podcast with us. So that's pretty much it. Thanks
Till next time.
for watching.
Thank you.
We'll see you the next one.
Peace.